The gavel just dropped on one of the biggest secrets in the world of the ultra-rich. A billionaire's mistress has exploded onto the scene, not just demanding recognition, but revealing an entire hidden family. This isn't just about money. It's about a shattered legacy and a judge who won't stop until every last detail is brought to light. You know, in a city like Manhattan, secrets don't stay buried forever. Not even when you're a billionaire, not even when you own half the skyline. And Jonathan Hale, America's favorite philanthropic family man, was about to learn that the hard way. For years, Jonathan's image had been flawless. Magazine covers showed him smiling beside his elegant wife, Evelyn Hale, and their teenage son. Anchors called him the man with the golden touch. He built hospitals, funded scholarships, and donated millions to children's charities. People adored him. They trusted him. They believed he was good. But then the whispers began. At first it was small things, a blurred photo circulating on social media, a man who looked like Jonathan entering a downtown apartment building long past midnight. A rumor in a tabloid column about a mysterious woman tied to him. Nothing confirmed yet. Then came the first crack. Buried deep inside the county's online court docket, someone noticed a newly filed petition. A subtle line item, child support hearing, hail Jonathan. It spread like wildfire, screenshots, tweets. TikTok analysis videos. People asked, child support for who? Is the billionaire hiding something? The empire Jonathan built on polished interviews and charity galas was starting to shake. The morning of the hearing, reporters crowded the courthouse steps, cameras ready, microphones out. And then she arrived, Camilla Torres, a woman in her early 30s, quiet, composed, but carrying the exhaustion of someone who'd fought for years alone. A former marketing consultant, smart, steady. And holding the hands of two small children with the same dark hair and striking eyes Jonathan Hale was famous for. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Inside the courtroom, presiding over everything, sat Judge Miriam Cole, known citywide as a force of nature, sharp, precise. A woman who didn't care about wealth, influence, or flashy attorneys. This was the last judge any billionaire wanted. When the hearing began, Jonathan's seat was noticeably empty. Only his legal team appeared, polished, intimidating, and determined to crush Camilla's claims before they spread further. But then the doors opened. Evelyn Hale, the billionaire's legitimate wife, walked in, her posture rigid, her face unreadable. She sat silently behind her husband's legal bench, though he hadn't shown up himself. Day one was explosive. Camilla's attorney laid out the argument clearly. Jonathan Hale had maintained a secret relationship with Camilla for nearly 7 years. He had financially supported her quietly at first, until the birth of their twins. Payments stopped suddenly 6 months ago. Camilla filed for legal child support when she had no other choice. The courtroom buzzed. Evelyn Hale's eyes widened, her fingers tightening around her purse. Jonathan's lawyers denied everything. They called Camilla's petition delusional, opportunistic, and fabricated. But Judge Cole, she watched with an expression carved from stone. This was only the beginning. Day 2 brought witnesses. First was a former nanny, trembling as she recounted the nights Jonathan visited Camilla's apartment, often bringing gifts for the children. Next came a personal assistant who, under subpoena, admitted she booked private trips and discreet hotel suites, always for Jonathan and Camilla. Then came the financial records. Dozens of payments traced back to dummy corporations Jonathan owned, payments labeled as consulting fees, housing subsidies, education funds. There was no hiding anymore. Evelyn Hale sat frozen, breathing shallowly. Her entire world, everything she believed about her husband, was unraveling in front of strangers. Then Camilla spoke. Her voice cracked as she described loving a man who promised he would leave his marriage once the time was right. She explained how she stayed silent for years, not because she wanted Jonathan's money, but because she hoped he would choose their children openly. But he didn't, she whispered through tears. He stopped calling, he stopped coming. And my kids ask every night, why does Daddy want us anymore? The courtroom went silent. Even some reporters lowered their eyes. Then the DNA bombshell. Judge Cole opened the sealed envelope provided by the lab. She read it, looked up. The probability of paternity, she announced, is 99.98%. Jonathan Hale is the biological father of both children. A collective gasp filled the room. The secret family was no longer rumor. It was legal fact. By day 3, Jonathan finally showed up. He entered through a back hallway, avoiding cameras, wearing a suit that suddenly looked too tight. He sat beside his wife, who didn't even glance at him. His lawyers came ready to fight. They argued Camilla manipulated him, that the relationship was brief and non-consensual in emotional terms. They demanded reduced support. They claimed the children didn't need a billionaire lifestyle. But Judge Cole wasn't having any of it. Then came Jonathan's PR nightmare. While the court battled, his corporate stock dipped. Sponsors withdrew from his charity events. Employees quit. Statements flooded the internet. "We are deeply concerned. We stand with the truth. We demand accountability." Jonathan's empire was collapsing in real time. Meanwhile, Evelyn faced her own agony. Her lawyers whispered options: divorce, legal separation, control of assets. But she sat motionless, watching the husband she thought she knew crumble before her eyes. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It threatened her son's inheritance, their companies, their entire legacy. Looking at Camilla's children, who resembled her husband more than her own son ever had, something inside her broke. The final day of the hearing felt like the end of a long war. Judge Cole read her ruling slowly, firmly. First, Jonathan Hale was ordered to provide significant monthly child support, reflecting his billionaire income. Second, a trust fund was to be established for each child, fully protected from Jonathan's influence. Third, shared custody with visitation rights tightly monitored due to Jonathan's pattern of inconsistency and emotional neglect. Fourth, a public statement acknowledging paternity and responsibility. The courtroom was stunned. Jonathan's lawyers protested. He himself slammed his fist on the table, but Judge Cole remained unmoved. "This court," she said, "will not allow children to suffer because a man cares more about his reputation than his responsibilities." Cameras flashed as the ruling echoed nationwide. Public perception flipped overnight. The man once celebrated as a hero was now a symbol of deceit. People boycotted his businesses. Employees staged walkouts. Sponsors pulled out of future partnerships. And Evelyn. She walked out of the courthouse without her husband, her lawyers carrying a folder of divorce papers behind her. Outside, Camilla hugged her children tightly. Reporters swarmed, but she ignored them. For the first time in months, she felt relief, maybe even hope. As for Jonathan Hale, he stood alone on the courthouse steps, no cameras cheering, no fans praising him. Just a man whose lies built an empire and whose truth tore it apart. Sometimes the biggest fall doesn't happen from a rooftop. It happens under oath in front of the whole world. And this time, justice wasn't just served, it was televised.